Hello and welcome back to another episode of Shadow Piece. Today we are going to see how this entire battle is going to turn out. So first, let's see what happened last week. Last week in Shadow Piece we took a step back. To be precise, we visited the time span of 25 to 10 years ago, meeting the four Yakuza bosses in their teenage years and experiencing firsthand what shaped them to be the respectable samurai that they are now. They now have mentally prepared themselves for this fight. This fight has been something they have been expecting for decades, and their strength is at an all-time high. They could have never imagined to reach such a level in the past. In just 10 minutes, they have reached these levels through the guidance of Sword God Ryuma. They have improved by leaps and bounds, but while their level might be top tier for Wano Citizen, the Wildfire King is still an incredible opponent. Without Ryuma's attack, it would have never been a fair fight, but now, how will this battle turn out? From this point onward, it is up for fate. Join me in this episode, Eye of the Storm, and prepare for a tumultuous current of wits. Only a few battles remain to determine the outcome of the raid, and it can for sure be said that there are more samurai remaining than beast pirates. However, if the Yakuza bosses Yatape, Tsunagoro, Cho and Omasa lose against King, and Moriya doesn't manage to win against Kaido, the raid will still end in a failure. King covered himself with his wings, and his fire started forming his ultimate defense form. It has been so long since he was pushed this far that he can't even remember the last fight he was this serious. If he continues to stay on the defensive, however, he is bound to lose, so he has to switch gears. He enters his hybrid form, still keeping his flames active. Lunarians can't lose. They are gods after all, and these people of Wano are just slaves for Kaido's plans. Swinging his swords, he sends waves of fires flying towards the Yakuza leaders, burning with the flames of his race and carrying the weight of Kaido's dreams. The four Wano natives opened up some distance towards King, even performing the disrespectful feat of showing their backs to their opponents. However, as the attacks actually reach them, they turn around and cover themselves in full body armor and haki. While the damage from the cut can be mostly negated, they are still left with the heat of the fire entering their wounds. If they screamed now, they would never forgive themselves. Every normal citizen of Wano suffered much more than a few cuts could ever make them suffer. Not pulling any grimace, they continue to gain distance. For King, this opens up a question. After all, these people can't defeat them if they just continue to run away. The All-Star continues to bombard the samurai with attacks, leaving countless cuts and burns all over their bodies. In that moment, Tsunagoro holds up his hand and says to the others, "This is far enough. Plus, any more of this, and I won't be there to see the tomorrow we are fighting for." His comrades yell at him. He can't give up his life for this plan to succeed. They need everyone's power to defeat King. They hold their fists together before Project Eye of the Storm actually starts. Positioning themselves in a line, they prepare to attack and finish off King once and for all. For this, they are willing to sacrifice a lot, but no member of the Yakuza bosses is willing to die, or allows the other one to die, because all of them need to see the dawn of the coming age. The furthest away from King stands Tsunagoro, preparing his attack. In front of him, we first can see Yatape, already swinging his sword to gather momentum. The second to last in line is Omasa, taking deep breaths and focusing all of his haki only in his fists. And the person in the front is Cho, the lightest member of the Yakuza bosses at the last part of this attack. The key to victory, you might say. Even with King keeping up his merciless attacks, they don't waver. Every wound can be recovered from once the battle is over, but the damage from yet another loss will weigh more heavy on their hearts than any wound could actually ever do. First, Tsunagoro pulls out his two pistols and shoots them precisely at the back of Yatape. Instantly after, he swings his sword, producing a swirling attack that hits Yatape. Biting down on his teeth, Yatape takes the full force of this attack. His body starts to rotate from the centrifugal force Tsunagoro's attack had. Carrying over the whole energy of the attack, he releases one huge swing with his sword, before falling on the ground himself. His sword slash doesn't rotate like Tsunagoro's attack, However, it keeps changing the angle of the slash, just like a snake that slithers through the ground, or the air in this case, until it finally connects with Omasa's back. The giant of Udon, Bloodletter Omasa, coughs up blood as the attack first makes contact with his back. He starts to sprint towards Cho, using the combined force of Tsunagoro's and Yatape's attack as a massive speed boost. The snake-like attack continues to bury deeper and deeper into the rear side of Omasa. It hits him as hard as possible. Because he has focused all of his haki into his fist, his back was left defenseless. The blood he lost has completely covered his arms at this point, and he has reached Cho's position. The three men know that this plan puts the most stress on Cho's body, and yet she insisted on being the final part of the attack. She is not only the oldest, but also the most determined to finish this once and for all. Her being the lightest was another deciding factor, but out of all of them, she has shown that she is not one to lose hope, regardless of the situation. She always picked them back up when they fell down. Cho really is the big sister of all Yakuza bosses. Omasa's punches burst into the back of the female samurai, leaving an imprint of the kanji fist on her back. All of the strength of the four Yakuza bosses resides in this single attack, and Cho is the one to deal the actual damage against King. The All-Star sees this spectacle before his eyes. The first attack he can follow, the second starts to get blurred, the third attack was only a smudged Omasa to him. To counter, King, as soon as he realizes that they are planning something, fires off his strongest attack, which is called Omori Karyudon. It's like a giant fire dragon. Which is, I think, homage to Kaido, because King really looks up to Kaido. Once Cho was sent flying, woman completely disappears from King's eyes. All he could do was put his flames to full strength and cover his body with his wings once again, if she actually manages to go through the flames from the attack. Silence falls upon the performance floor. Only Ryuma and Zombie Beard know what actually happened. For everybody else, it was just way too fast. Cho herself could barely control her body. Her clothes ripped apart from the wind pressure, and her body continued to get cut from the currents, not even talking about the image she got from the combined attack of her three comrades. It is time to awaken to the truth, to awaken from all of their doubts. It took longer for all of them than they wished for, but now they understand. This is the result of their power, the best they can achieve, the best they can offer. The attack to save the future of everyone in Wano. This attack is called Leopard's Enlightenment, Flower of Hope. Cho spins through the air, with her sword pointed forward. The different angles of all attacks carried over to her, making her spin in the air in all kinds of directions, and making her leave flowers in the air basically behind her. She clashes against King's attack, and the flames disappear in an instant. The moment she reaches King, her sword clashes against King's flames and wings. This is the moment. This is the prime definition of an immovable object that is being attacked by an unstoppable force. Only when Cho hears the screams of encouragement from her three brothers and all of their followers, the situation changes. Haki is heavily connected to willpower, determination so to say. While Cho was already giving it her all, the full 100%, there is always room to improve, reaching new heights, reaching enlightenment, breaking through your limits, piercing through the heavens. All kinds of different things can be said about them. And with this newfound willpower, Cho snuffs out the Lunarian's flames and pierces through King's wings, cutting off his left arm in the process and knocking out their opponents. This battle has ended. Battle on the performance floor. Winner: Broken Head Tsunagoro, Snake Eyes Yatape, Bloodletter Omasa, and finally the person to deal the last attack, Moonflower Cho. The battle with the All-Stars is finished, and it's a complete victory for Wano. The Yakuza bosses gathered together, barely being able to stand with each other's support. Then they announced the victory, not only to Ryuma and Hyogoro, their teachers and guidance, but also to all of the people of Wano, to all of the people that believed in them. After a cheer for their victory, they all lay down on the ground, completely exhausted, and all of them are left with a mark showing their teamwork. On Yatape's back is the swirling form of Tsunagoro's attack. On Omasa's back, we can see the appearance of a snake glaring at anybody glaring at his back. Joe is left with bloody writing of the kanji fist, and in future, after everything was over, Joe tattooed a moonflower on Tsunagoro's back. They will never forget the day they defeated an opponent that terrorized them for decades, and thus really helped Wano in being free once again. And this is the end of this episode, the battle of King and the Yakuza bosses. I hope you enjoyed this fight, because now we go to the big leagues. Next week we're going to see how the biggest fighters, the leaders of the alliances, are dealing with each other. But until then, I hope all of you take care of each other, stay healthy, stay happy, and most importantly, stay cultured. This has been Pyro Prima, and we will see each other in the next video. Bye!